Hello and welcome. Thanks to each and every one of you for being here with us today. I, Ankit Dogra, along with my teammates, Dr. Deepika Chhabra and Mr. Amit Saxena from Medical Services, and Mr. Sanjeev Tiwari, Regional Sales Manager, Jacksonpal Pharma Division, based at Delhi, are very pleased to welcome you all to the ECME on Cancer Cervix, organized by Delhi Gynecologist Forum, Dwarka chapter, with academic partner Jacksonpal Pharmaceuticals Limited, makers of Lycorid, the cell protector oncopreventive, Jepitone iron syrup enriched with zinc and vitamin B complex, and Narical tablets, calcium citrate malate, vitamin D3, and folic acid. The master of ceremony today is Dr. Yogita Prashar. She is consultant obs and gyn at Manipal Hospital, Dwarka, New Delhi. Dr. Yogita Prashar is recipient of DGF Abdul Kalam Appreciation Award in 2020. We also welcome the esteemed faculty and the attendees with us today. Dear attendees, please post your queries in Q&A box. Please note this webinar is streaming live on Facebook. The link is shared in the chat box. Also note, for the future reference, we will upload this webinar on Jacksonpal's YouTube channel, Jacksonpal Medical Insights. Now we request MOC Dr. Yogita Prashar to kindly initiate the program. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Ankit. Hi, I'm Dr. Yogita Parashar. I welcome you all to this fifth ECME, which is hosted by DGF Dwarka, and it is on a very important topic, cervical cancer. We'll be discussing screening and treatment in this CME, and it is a topic, I think, very close to heart of all the gynecologists, and I think Shada ma'am has been working consistently in this cervical cancer field. And motto of DGF also, we all have become an ambassador for cervical cancer screening. So I would like to invite now the conveners of the CME, Dr. Asmita ma'am. Ma'am is Director Professor and Head Obs and Gynae at Maulana Azad Medical College. And she has been very active in maternal fetal medicine, and she has done various surgery, and ma'am is recipient of various awards. The next is Dr. Geetu Gawai, and she is also an alumni for Lady Harding Medical College and presently working at Bhagat Chandra Hospital. So, Asmita ma'am, I would like to invite you to welcome Secretary Dr. Leena ma'am to carry forward the CME.
Okay, thank you so much. A very, very good afternoon and warm welcome to all the participants, delegates, faculty for this CME. I think presence of our charismatic Secretary General, Dr. Sharda Jain, is always an encouragement for all of us to move forward and inspiration to do more and more whatever we can. Cancer cervix is the most common genital malignancy, and because of its peculiarity of a long pre-malignant phase, a good screening methods available, and an availability of vaccine, it's a preventable cancer. FIGO also has given a call of eradication of a cancer cervix by 2030. And I think that puts a great responsibility on all of us as a gynecologist to offer our women the best possible care and help them in reducing the morbidity because of this particular disease. So to deal with on this topic, Dr. Gitu has presented, my co-convener has done, it's actually entirely Dr. Gitu's ECME. I think I am just a sort of a troubleshooter if there for any problem. So the complete credit goes to Dr. Gitu for this compiling the brilliant scientific program. And without wasting much time now, I think we start with the presidential address followed by the secretary's report. Over to you, Dr.
Thank you very much, Dr. Asmita. Like you said at the very outset that, this particular CME is very important for each and every gynecologist. But I'm very proud to say that this is our 5th CME of Delhi Gynecologist Forum Dwarka since its inception in August 2021. Just hardly 5 months back, as we went by Dr. Sharda Jain ma'am's directions. And I'm proud to say that this is our 5th CME. And rightly so, it is on a very important topic to which we all have been ambassadors for eradication of cervical cancer. And we know that this is the 4th most common cancer among women. And I just love this line that is given by the Nobel Prize winner Harold Hosson, who said that cervical cancer does not and will not develop in the absence of a persistent presence of the HPV DNA. So every word of it means something. And I think, no matter how many CMEs we have on cervical cancer, there's always something to be learned, relearned, and again learned whenever we conduct the CME. And although you said that just you were bringing in the frills of the CME, but I think as a forum we have really bonded very well, and I think each and everyone has contributed beautifully. Thank you very much for being there on this platform. I call upon the President of Delhi Gynae Forum, Dr. Deepika Dekar.
A very good evening to everybody present here. Yes, first of all, I would like to welcome Dr. Sharda Jain, and it is your, direction and your active participation, your undying enthusiasm, which makes us go on. At the same time, I think the Dwarka Society, the Dwarka Executive Committee is dedicated to bringing into focus one aspect of obstetrics and gynae of the vast field at every meeting. We have had fetal medicine, we have had high-risk pregnancy, and I'm very happy that Dr. Gitu Gaba has accepted, and in fact, she came forward herself that she would like to do this CME on cervical cancer screening. So I want to tell all the members of the Dwarka Society, please come forward, be more enthusiastic, be more active. Today, I thought that, we should make it our website, our WhatsApp group, a little like case oriented. So I just want, because we are also keeping these meetings as monthly meetings of the society, of the Dwarka Society. So I thought it is important for me to ask everybody, each and every member, that if you have an interesting case, put it on the WhatsApp. In fact, I had told one of the executive members that we should have some, where we only train the people who do not come for the CMEs literally. The grassroots workers, we need to address their problems, their day-to-day questions. So we should have something like question answer sessions towards the end. And I take this opportunity. I can see that there are 102 participants. I'm really thrilled that I want everybody to participate actively. We have the WhatsApp group. So please give your suggestions, give your cases. Let us have academic discussions in the WhatsApp group along with these monthly meetings. So I welcome everybody to this monthly meeting, the 5th one. And I congratulate Dr. Gitu Gaba for taking the opportunity and, of increasing our knowledge, getting us up to date on cancer cervix. So, I'm very happy that Professor Sharda Jain is with us. And Madam, may I request you to please give words of wisdom for us to.
Thank you, Dr. Deepika Dekar. I think this cervical cancer elimination has been very seriously taken as far as the Western world is concerned. And in fact, prompted by their screening program and then taking on to vaccination, the Director General of WHO thought, it is possible to see that this particular word can be cervical cancer free. And he made the decision in May 2018. And then he thought, that political will is required in developing countries, because unless the political will is there, things cannot be, no way forward is there. And then he found that in 2020 August, 165 countries signed, and India was one of the signatories for the same. And then the WHO gave a clarion call on 17th of November 2020 with a slogan of 90, 70, 90. 90 means people should be vaccinated, especially in case if the developing country people, like they say that, they do not have money for everybody. Because as far as India is concerned, it is committed in case if they have money, they will give free vaccination up to the age 46 years. But as far as our performance is concerned, our performance is that less than 1% people are vaccinated in this country. And out of this 1%, which is less than 1%, 75% is done by the pediatricians. So as far the gynecologists is concerned, they have a block in their head. Neither they take themselves, nor they give it to their daughters, nor they give it to their daughter-in-laws, nor they prescribe anybody. Otherwise, to contributing to 0.25%, the vaccination rate in this particular country, when the WHO wants 90%, is far, far away. 100 years it's going to take. Let's come to screening. The screening is 2-3%. That's all. So we have long, long way to go. I know that we had talked with Dr. Harshvardhan, and he has said definitely, Madam, by 2020 it will roll on. But in 2021, this COVID came and everything, all funds were funded towards the COVID vaccination. But I think, somewhere we gynecologists need to get started. What is my contribution is going to be in the vaccination program? What's my contribution is going to be in the screening program? In case, because as Dr. Asmita just now said, we all know about it, that this particular cancer is 100% preventable cancer. I don't know about anybody. I know about one person. That's myself. I've been trained at PGI Chandigarh. We had a pathology training similar to the pathologist residence. We were trained how to screen pap smear and things like that. And my boss used to say, मेरी एक ही गुरुदक्षिणा है कि आपके अंडर जो भी पेशेंट होगा उसको कैंसर सर्विक्स नहीं होना चाहिए. And don't ever make a money on pap smear and screening your patients. This Professor Devi used to ask. So I think, with that kind of dedication in my clinic, 100% patient, not even 99%, are screened. If we can do it, I'm sure you people can also do it. I'm very clear about it. And very passionately, people like me and the Delhi Gynecologist Forum is trying to see that we give a cervical cancer prevention course along with colposcopy. We are doing it, and we have trained 3,800 gynecologists. And here, the 117 who are listening me, not more than 17, know what is daycare treatment of cervical prevention of cervical cancer is. They do not know what is screen and treat clinic. They do not know see and treat clinic. उनको कोई concept नहीं है, कोई VIA, VILI का कोई concept ही नहीं है. I know that they know, because they know they have a postgraduate degree, they know everything, but they don't know anything. Otherwise, this pathetic results of less than 1% vaccination and less than 3% screening is unthinkable. So this is with this particular, I took extra time to tell you that lots things have to be done. No point becoming an ambassador. कि आप कुछ करते तो हो नहीं, उस ambassador होने का क्या फायदा? दिखना चाहिए. And again, very passionately, we have said in 2022, each and every Delhi Gynecologist Forum member should become ambassador to eradicate deaths from PPH, to eradicate anemia, which is still around 50%, and to work earnestly with 120% dedication to see that one day this country will be cervical cancer free India. It is going to take 100 years. अगर 10 साल आप काम करेंगे तो जो आपकी डेथ्स है वो 1/3 हो जाएंगी. Today you want to know the maternal mortality deaths in this particular country are 25,000 only. But as far as the deaths because of the cervical cancers are concerned, I was told it is 60,000. But the latest figure which I got is again 70 plus, 3 times more than the maternal mortality. हम कहाँ की बात कर रहे हैं? So this is what the sad story as far as the gynecologists are concerned. We are hypothetical. We live in a different world. We talk. We don't do anything into action. So this is what, with a harsh word, I'm trying to initiate this thing, that I feel that, you know, there are 5,500 gynecologists in the city. हर आदमी 10 लोगों का भी कल्याण करेगा तो बहुत लोगों का कल्याण हो जाएगा. Thank you very much. And I wish to inform you that the government Delhi, they have never advertised. Otherwise, you'll find Kejriwal's posters are there every time on a new newspaper. But now, previously, they were giving it at the age of 13 and 14, the vaccination were given free. Now they have extended it to 9 to 26 years. And there are 2 places where it has been given free. People have to only take an Aadhaar card and vaccination can be given free. You can get in touch with me after this. And I'm going to post in the end in your WhatsApp group what this training program of colposcopy and total cervical cancer prevention is all about. I will post it so each one of you can have a look at it. Over to you, Dr. Leena.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Those are really hugely inspiring words. I am sure everyone has hung on to every word that you have mentioned just now. So thank you very much, ma'am. With that, I hand over to the Master of Ceremonies, Dr. Yogita.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. I think your words have been deeply embedded in our brains, and definitely we all are going to do something significant for this topic. So moving on to our first session, I would like to invite the first session, which is chaired by our own Dr. Leena. Ma'am is a senior consultant Obs and Gynae at Manipal Hospital, Dwarka, and she has been a very active participant in DGF, and ma'am has been hosting various CMEs. There are various awards to her honor, and we can move on to the next. Yeah. And Dr. Upasana Bhagat, ma'am is head of department Obs and Gynae at Bhagat Chandra Hospital, and she specializes in infertility treatment. Next. Yeah, I'd like to welcome Dr. Meenakshi Ahuja. Ma'am is director at Fortis LAFEM, and she is a very active obstetrician and gynecologist.
It is my proud privilege to invite my dashing and smart gynecologist working with us, Dr. Geetu Gaba. She's going to tell us so much about, she has prepared very well, and she is going to tell us about the prevention and how we can save our society from this menace of cervical cancer. Over to you, Dr. Geetu Gaba. Hello. Hello.
Hello, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much for such encouraging words, ma'am. And I'd like to thank Dr. Ashmita, Dr. Leena, Dr. Deepika, and Dr. Upasana to encourage me and be with me throughout this preparation. It was not me who did this. I think we all contributed. And thank you so much, Dr. Sharda Jain, ma'am, to be here today. Your words are always encouraging. So on behalf of DGF Dwarka, I welcome you to this session. So today's topic is prevention of CS cervix. On your screen, ladies and gentlemen, are some females, as you can see. The first one is a comedian, Second is an Olympian. The third is Judy Gordon. I think she's the most famous. This lady was called Madonna of the East. If you're a fan of science fiction, K.D. Kenwood. This one is a member of parliament, was a member of parliament in US, and nameless, countless Indian females. They all have one thing in common, that they all had CA cervix and they did not survive. So with these grim words, I like to share the burden of CA cervix. It does not spare anyone, black, white, yellow, brown. It is the fourth most cancer among females. 60,000 plus cases and 34,000 deaths were reported globally by this cancer in 2020. 85% incidence and 87% deaths occurred in low and middle income countries. And in India, one death occurs every 7 minutes. And it is second most common cancer in India at the age of 15 to 44 years. And it is projected that 1 in 53 women would experience cancer cervix in India as compared to 1 in 100 in most developed region of the world. WHO gave this call, cancer cervix elimination by 2030 in November of 2020. And the aim was to reduce the incidence by less than 2 cases per 1 lakh women years. And for this, the target was 90, 70, 90 for all countries, which meant that 90% girls fully vaccinated with HPV vaccine by the age of 15. 70% of women screened using high performance tests by the age of 35. 90% of the women identified to have cervical disease, cancer disease treated, which include 90% women with pre-cancer treated and 90% women with invasive cancer managed. For this, first let's talk about the vaccination against HPV virus. And as Dr. Leena also quoted this by Nobel Prize winner Helad Hussein, he got Nobel Prize for his work in showing HPV DNA causes cervical cancer. The cervical cancer does not and will not develop in absence of persistent presence of HPV DNA. There are hundreds type of HPV, 15 to 20 are oncogenic, and high-risk DNA is detected in 99% cases of cervical cancers, and mostly they are type 16 and 18. Low-risk HPV 6 and 8 cause benign and low-grade CIN, genital tract, laryngeal papilloma. There are also HPV has been implicated in many other cancers, both male and female. So now type of vaccines, there are 3 types of vaccines which are available in India, which is a bivalent, which is Cervarix. Then there is this quadrivalent vaccine, Gardasil. And now the 9-valent vaccine is also available, which is by the name of Gardasil 9. So in India, the license to use is between 9 to 45 years and preferred target group is 9 to 14 years. In less than 15 years, number of doses are 2, that is 0 and 6 months. And it has been said that any time between 5 to 15 months, the second dose can be given. From 15 to 26 years, it is a catch-up vaccine, 3 doses, 016 for bivalent and 026 for quadrivalent and 9-valent. In older group, that is more than 26 years, 3 doses. But in sexually active women, the vaccine has reduced efficacy and we should concentrate more on screening rather than vaccine. Now we come to the screening. It is a curable disease with well-established long precancerous interval. An objective is to prevent the invasive cancer from developing by detecting and treating women with CIN 2 and 3. So good quality screening test, prompt diagnostic investigation, and appropriate treatment and post-treatment follow-up should be done after screening. And even if the women is vaccinated for HPV, still CA cervix screening needs to be done. So many guidelines, different recommendations. So today I'll only talk about the Indian scenario where we have these tests available, cytology, HPV DNA, VIA and VILI. And depending on settings, available tests, cost and feasibility, any of these tests can be done. So talking about cytology, conventional or liquid base, whatever is available. And the strength it has proven effectiveness in preventing CA cervix. It is widely acceptable. Training and methods are well established. It has very high specificity. In fact, highest specificity of all the tests that are available. But there are certain limitations. It requires infrastructure. Patients get lost to follow up. Quality control and assurance has to be there. Interpretation is subjective. It will depend on the pathologist, and the women need to make multiple visits, getting the report and the next test, and it is a little less sensitive. The next is HPV DNA, and according to these guidelines, they recommend RCOG, WHO, ASCCP, they recommend this as a primary test. And it is a simple test. Results are very definitive. There's no room for error. It is highly specific, less than cytology, but still highly specific. Self-sampling can be done, and it prevents more precancers and cancers. Screen and treat clinic can use this HPV DNA test for the treatment. And WHO says that regular screening after 30 years, every 5 to 10 years by HPV DNA. Limitations are almost same as cytology, that you need an infrastructure, quality control. It has a high cost. Results, again, not available immediately, and it is less sensitive. Now coming to VIA, 5% acetic acid you apply on cervix, observation at 1 minute. It is very simple. It is very inexpensive. It is easily available. Even if you don't have other tests, in any clinic, in any remote area, acetic acid is available, and this test can be used. Minimal infrastructure is needed, brief training, and results are immediately available. And screen and treat and see and treat actually can be done if it is there. You see, and then you just treat. Limitations, again, quality control. Interpretation is subjective. Many gynecologists, different gynecologists will have different interpretation, and it is not appropriate in postmenopausal women. It has low sensitivity. So WIS test. So I came across many Indian studies. One of this is was done in AIIMS, and they said that sequential testing, combination of VIA and HPV, followed by colposcopy and directed biopsy for diagnosis, gives combines economic viability with high scientific fidelity. Then there's this study by Mishra in International Journal of Preventive Medicine, which said that.
Yeah. So as we have seen, screening is a very important part in this. Cervical cancer is a curable disease with a well-established long pre-cancerous interval. And objective is to prevent the invasive cancer for developing by detecting and treating women who have CIN 1, 2, and 3. The good quality screening test, prompt diagnostic investigation, and appropriate treatment and post-treatment follow-up, all of these are very important. Women who are vaccinated with HPV vaccine, they will still need to be screened for cervical cancer. The screening cannot be done with. It has to be kept in a follow-up. Now, there are different guidelines and different recommendations. And as Dr. Geetu was saying, in the Indian scenario, cytology, HPV DNA, VIA, and villi, they are very important. And depending upon the setting, the available test, the cost, and the feasibility, we have to see it. The conventional or liquid-based cytology, the strengths are the proven effectiveness, widely acceptable. It is widely acceptable. Training and the method, they are well established. All of us know how to do it, and it is a high specificity. Although the limitations are, it requires proper infrastructure. The lab has to be there. Sometimes the patients, they are lost to follow, and quality control and assurance. The interpretation of the subject, that is also the limitation for this. The person has to follow multiple times. HPV DNA, this is a very important tool. The strength site is very simple. It is highly specific. And self-sampling can be done. The limitations are obviously the infrastructure, the quality control and assurance, and the high cost of HPV DNA. The results are not available immediately, and it is slightly less sensitive. Now, VIA. It is very easy to do. You just require 5% acetic acid. We have to apply the 5% acetic acid on the cervix. We have to observe for the acito-white areas after 1 minute. And from the acito-white area, we can conduct the biopsy. Now, the strain site is very simple, inexpensive. It is easily available, requires minimal infrastructure. It can be done even in the rural settings. A very brief training period is required, and even the ASHA workers, they can be trained for it. The results are immediately available, and immediate treatment, like Dr. Shada ma'am said, screen and treat, that can be provided.
Now we can't hear you. Can you again log in?
And the VIA, can we go on to the next slide?
Went off after that. The resource-based cervical cancer screening.
The resource-based cervical cancer screening, the recommendations by FOGSI, the good clinical practice recommendations are as such. There is, it is divided as per the modality, the target age group, age to start, and the frequency at which it has to be done. Now we have two types where there is a good resource setting and there is a limited resource setting. The modality used in a good resource setting can be HPV DNA, where the primary HPV DNA, and it can be done along with co-testing with the cytology. So both HPV and cytology can be done, or cytology alone can be done, colposcopy and biopsy, or VIA. In limited resource setting, we can just do VIA or a colposcopy with or without biopsy. The target age group is 25 years to 65 years in good resource setting, and in limited resource setting, 30 to 65 years. Mostly in postmenopausal women, VIA may not be very effective. The age to start, the LBC or the pap smear, it can be started at 35 years, and primary HPV can be done starting from 30 years. In limited resource setting, from 30 years onwards, we can start. Frequency, and for primary HPV or along with co-testing every 5 years, whereas cytology can be done every 3 years. In limited resource setting, every 5 years, at least 1 to 3 times in a lifetime. Now, when to stop? 65 years with consistent negative results in last 15 years. Women with no prior screening, they should undergo tests at least once at 65 years, and if it's negative, they can exit the screening process. Follow-up method after treatment. Now, HPV testing is preferred, or cytology at 12 months, that is 1 year, or in limited resource setting, VIA can be performed at 12 months. Welcome, Dr. Geetu. Now, I think you can take over.
Yeah, she can take over.
So in patient who have undergone hysterectomy, if it is for benign causes, no need for screening unless there is a previous history of CIN. And if indication is unclear, suppose a patient comes that we had a hysterectomy, but we don't know the indication, then clinician discretion can be used to screen. And if in the hysterectomy report, we get the report of CIN, can I have my screen? Then we need to do HPV screening at 6 and 18 months. So a little word about colposcopy. It is a second test for triage. Whether to do it report-based or risk-based is open for discussion. And see and treat clinics can use this. Patient is referred with an abnormal cytology report. Colposcopy is done. And if there is a high-grade lesion, that is a modified Reed score of more than 3, simultaneous treatment can be done with excision or ablation. And there's very low probability of overtreatment because she already has a report with her. And we can have analysis of biopsy and excision specimens later. Now, what is the future? There's a role of artificial intelligence, which is automated visual evaluation. That is that colposcopy report is sent to a computer and they give a report to you. And automatic neural networks are being developed, and hopefully we will see that in future, which will help us in diagnosis. Thank you. That was my talk.
Thank you, Dr. Geetu. I think that was a very informative session. I'd like to invite our experts for the session 1, Dr. Upasna ma'am, Dr. Leena ma'am, Dr. Meenakshi ma'am, to please give your expert comments.
I would like to say, I mean, I liked your last slide, Dr. Geetu, which was on the future of, screening. But what I would really appreciate now is that if patients, come back for their pap smears. I mean, that is the biggest, I think the biggest challenge that we face. So that is why this see and treat, I think, is a very, very important in our Indian scenario. And we must all do that, whether we are in a public setting or we're in a private setting. We mustn't forget that, it's not just the last 2 years of COVID which prevented women from, accessing routine gynecological care and screening. But even in the future, as we saw in the past, women tend to, keep their health at the lowest, you could say the lowest end of the priority list that is there. So it's very important for us gynecologists to understand that, treat them, put the, the knowledge about cancer of cervix and the pre-malignant lesions, and reiterate at every time. The counseling should be very good, that they should understand that they have to come for a follow-up, and try to treat them right at the first sitting, the time when they come to you, so that you have done something. And I really appreciate that one slide where you said that a woman in a lifetime, even if 3 times she has undergone a screening test, then she stands to be at a very, very low risk for developing any cancer of the cervix. So I think thrice in a lifetime is really something which we all can achieve in a country like India, if not more than that.
Dr. Geetu, I know that in the Western countries, this insurance people, they are they tell the people, it's time for your pap smear. It's time for your mammography. So beginnings, we don't need to have insurance, but just asking about the other health insurance people, do they, tell you that it's you're due for a pap smear?
No, ma'am. No, in India, ma'am, OPD and OPD procedures usually are not covered by insurance, especially this pap smear. They don't cover it.
Ma'am, I don't know of any agency, insurance or otherwise, who's connecting to patients and calling them back. So whatever has to be, what is done by, the gynecologist at her own personal clinic, her own registry that she's maintained of.
But the insurance people will pay for the treatment of cancer cervix.
Yeah, they can. If they have that.
They will can. I think we should put it into their protocol that it should also include pap smear reminders.
Yes.
I know my 2 sisters in USA, they keep telling me so many pap smears, I have to go to the doctor, this, that. So is it not to be done in India?
It's mandatory.
I think we must sound it to the insurance people or to the government. I don't know.
Ma'am, if we see there is a change in practice. Now, there are many times the women come at around 40, 42, and they ask us which test should I get it done. So in that we say, but not insurance people.
For us, gynecologists, what I'm asking is, can we not ask the insurance people or the government to really have a follow-up?
Insurance people
patients to come for if they're going to pay for the cancer cervix treatment.
Yes, it is very unfortunate that a screening procedure like this is not covered by, the routine. OPD
I think, maybe Dr. Shada Jain has left or what, madam, we should tell the Foxy and other people that there should be something from the government, that you call the patients for a pap smear. Otherwise, they will not get reimbursed for the cancer cervix.
But in India, the insurance companies
Indu had something to say. Dr. Indu, we'd look forward to.
Hi.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Madam Jain, I was wondering, madam, ma'am, you're unmuted. You're muted.
See, as far as the pap smear go is concerned, outside every tertiary care hospital, big hospitals, government hospitals is available for 200 rupees, to be very exact, 180 rupees pap smear. The only thing is our gynecologist still continue to do a liquid-based cytology because each one of them pocket 300 rupees out of that. I'm talking about the bare facts. This is the fact of life. They are not concerned about patients. They are not concerned about the screening. They can do very simply VIA and Willy. I'm telling you, even the gynecologists will find difficult to get used to what VIA and Willy looks like. They are not trained. मेरे पास तो डॉक्टर साहब मैं तो ट्रेन करती हूँ हर महीने. हमारे पास
madam, we should have a resolution today. I think we should.
What I'm trying to say that. So this is VI जो Pap smear का है, VIA and Willy is as good as Pap smear, as good as Pap smear. तो आप लोगों को ये जो 15% है, middle class and the upper class, those only can be screened by Pap smear. But I think you know the rest will be should subject them for a VIA and Willy. बिकॉज जो HPV वाली बात आई है, HPV की स्क्रीनिंग उन्होंने एडवोकेट की है और उनके हिसाब से HPV की स्क्रीनिंग जो है उनके हिसाब से कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव है. पर हिंदुस्तान में तो डॉक्टर साहब अभी नहीं है. अभी तो 2600 रुपीज कॉस्ट करता है उसको डॉक्टर साहब, और हमारे जैसे लोग जो ट्रेनर है हम लोग को 1100 रुपए कॉस्ट करता है. तो हमारे पेशेंट्स तो कर नहीं सकते. हमको जब तक हमारे पास HPV के यहाँ के लोकली बनना शुरू नहीं हो जाएगा, हमारे को VIA एंड Willy करना पड़ेगा उन लोगों के लिए जो कि फॉलोअप के लिए नहीं आ सकते. अब सभी अभी तक हाफ ऑफ द डिस्ट्रिक्ट के अंदर आपका प्रोग्राम था सिंगल विजिट. आप आओ, हाफ ऑफ द सर्विक्स में अंदर अगर आपका लीजन है आप उसके अंदर थर्मल एब्लेशन कर दो और क्रायोकॉर्टी कर दो. नाउ इट हैज बीन एक्सटेंडेड टू ऑल डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स. All district hospitals have those kind of facilities available. It's the private sector which is not doing it. डॉक्टर वही तो आप डॉक्टर दीपिका आप जरा देखो तो सही. आई हैव रिमेन्ड अ चेयरमैन ऑफ अ टर्शियरी केयर हॉस्पिटल वेयर 40 डॉक्टर्स वर देयर एंड वो 6 स्पेकुलम सुबह डालते थे. तो एक्सेप्ट पीपल लाइक मी हु आर क्रेजी दैट वी विल नॉट डू स्पेकुलम, ये तो स्पेकुलम उठ के पीवी ही नहीं करती डॉक्टर साहब. बस स्पेकुलम ही नहीं करती डॉक्टर साहब.
Yes, I think आजकल PVs कम हो रहे हैं, PS तो बिल्कुल कम ही हो रहे हैं.
ये कहाँ जा रहे हैं मुझे मालूम नहीं है. बोलते हम एम्बेसडर बन रहे. किस बात के एम्बेसडर यार?
एक PS मैम, we get so many patients who come with abnormal uterine beating, and when we put a PS, there is a lesions in cervix. 4 years तक treatment ले रहे हैं without PS.
Yeah, I think we have to take a resolution today that we will do PS for every patient that walks in.
हमारे पास IVF के लिए आते हैं और इतना बड़ा सर्वाइकल लीजन होता है.
I do just recently had a patient.
दीपिका हम लोगों को इनको बोलना है, हमको अपने अंदर गरेबान में झांकना है.
I think Dr. Neelam Singh wants to speak. She's saying.
Please.
Dr. Neelam, please.
Just before that, I think Dr. Indu had put up raised a hand.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Very good session going on. I just want to make few points. One, I fully agree with Madam Dr. Sharda Jain that we are still not ready for HPV, neither the public sector nor the private sector. Yes, it's the best primary screening modality, but we are not ready for it. But we are all aware that we should do something, but how many of us are doing it? And the lack of awareness, like I conducted a study among staff nurses, doctors, and patients, and you will be, surprised that none of the children of staff nurses or doctors, maybe less than 1% are vaccinated. Most of the staff nurses never had a Pap smear because they come to us only when they are pregnant. And it's surprising. What are we doing? What's the point knowing HPV is best? And patient has come to hospital. I did a study, second or third visit, and like out of 1,000 patients, not even 3% had Pap smear done in the hospital, in spite of coming to tertiary care center. So what should be done? Like, I fully agree with ma'am. There's lack of political will, lack of personal will, and awareness program. We have to do something. Otherwise, we are nowhere. We are nowhere, and a crusader like ma'am, Dr. Sharda Jain ma'am, you can do something. I really believe in you.
अक्सर मेरे जैसे लोग क्या करेंगे? मैं पिछले साल काम करी 4,000 लोगों को ट्रेन किया बस खाली मैंने.
Motivate and like create awareness, and all of us are.
I can talk acid, but acid talk करने से फायदा नहीं है डॉक्टर साहब.
मैम you'll be surprised कि हमारे यहाँ पे मैंने इतने सारे स्टाफ नर्सेस के बच्चों का वैक्सीनेशन लिख के दिया एंड कोई अप्रूव नहीं हो रहा गवर्नमेंट से, कोई रीइंबर्समेंट नहीं हो रहा. I mean, we have to talk to government agencies and other
डॉक्टर
agencies.
साहब या मैं दिल्ली सरकार की बात करती हूँ मैं डॉक्टर साहब.
हाँ जी.
दिल्ली सरकार के पास पैसा नहीं इसको एडवर्टाइज करने के लिए, ठीक है, पर आपकी डॉक्टर साहब जीटीबी हॉस्पिटल में गेट नंबर 8 में जो दिल्ली कैंसर हॉस्पिटल है वहां पे अब 26 साल तक के लिए हम लोगों ने अप्रूव कराया.
Great,
तो लोगों
great,
को
ma'am.
जाना तो
That's
पड़ेगा
nice.
ना आधार कार्ड
That's
के
nice
साथ.
to know. Yeah. So that's.
उसी तरह जनकपुरी में एक हॉस्पिटल है, वहां पर भी कैंसर हॉस्पिटल है, वहां पर भी फ्री हो रहा है.
So it's totally
और
free.
26 साल तक के है ये लिए है डॉक्टर साहब.
That's very good information, ma'am. We can send patients.
पैनल्स जब तक नहीं लगेंगे तब तक
Dr. Neelam, Dr. Neelam Singh,
डॉक्टर
you want to
मैं लीना से बोलूंगी, लीना एक कार्ड बना देगी, वहां का जनकपुरी का अस्पताल का पता करेंगे कौन से गेट पे कहां पर मिला, पर आधार कार्ड लेके जाना पड़ेगा.
Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Neelam, you wanted to speak? Dr. Neelam, please.
Share the
Ma'am,
address of
Dr.
that
Neelam
man
would be in the attendees. Shall I ask her to
Yeah,
speak?
yeah.
Okay.
I think we have to take a pledge that we will do speculum examination and that we will take a pap smear
Fully agree. Fully agree.
fully
and vaccination. I just thought that both my bahus are not vaccinated because by the time they came to us, they were like 27, 28. So I think it's my fault. I can still give them vaccination.
मैं डॉक्टर क्लैरिटी करना चाहूंगी. When I got trained in Singapore about the HPV vaccination, so there were three teachers. One lady was from Canada because there, you know, the vaccination is still whatever year you want to take a vaccination, you can take it. And there was a lady from Singapore itself, and there was that Madam Stella, which is advisor for both for GSK as well as for the MSD. So she asked me, Dr. Jain, you are 60 years old. I have taken one vaccine. I'm the same age as yours. I've taken one vaccination in my country in Canada, and I've come to visit India, and my last dose is due. How are you going to help me? I said, look, I can't help you because in our country, it is up to 46 years. Then she made me very clear. She says, Narendra Modi says, I have this much of money for cervical cancer. He calls 10 experts from the country and say, make a policy, कहाँ पर ये में पैसा यूज करो. तो आपके एक्सपर्ट्स ने बताया है कि 46 years तक आप इसको फ्री देना. उसके बाद उन्होंने ये नहीं कभी कहा कि ये नहीं होना. डॉक्टर मैडम ने जो बोला है, there are studies available of Gardasil, a sexually active woman up to 46 years they have done it. If they take a vaccination, it is going to be effective to the tune of 99.6%. But now हमारी कंट्री में जब 1% है, तुम्हारे पास पैसा नहीं है, तो भैया तुम स्कूल में जाने वाले बच्चों को कर दो 15 साल तक को. This is what the policy is of the WHO to the government of India कि आप स्कूल में आपके 95% बच्चे आते हैं, आप उनको करो. But what I'm telling, it does not say कि आप उसके बाद नहीं ले सकते. So what I'm trying to say कि vaccination में भी also people should not go around with this with an idea that खाली 15 साल तक के बच्चों को देना है डॉक्टर. I think we all need to study a little more about things, and I feel, you know, the screening and vaccination forms the base. Doctor, the study has been done by the ICMR, which says that if you give the vaccination alone, the country's load of cervical cancer will decrease by 50%. This is ICMR study, not mine study. And if you screen those people twice at 35 and 45, that's ICMR study to the WHO, which they are following for everybody. So I think, you know, something has to be done about the perspective. As a chairman or something like that, कुछ तो इनके पास penalty होनी चाहिए, doctor.
Thank you very much. Though I am attendee, but this is such a nice discussion going on. So I really wanted to pitch in. Nice, Dr. Sharda Jain, to hear you after such a long time. I'm Neelam Singh from Lucknow. I want to just tell you that, you know, there is a program under Ayushman Bharat in which the population-based screening of cervical cancer is being proposed. The health and wellness center up to the level of sub-center. That means the sub-center, the primary health center, the community health center, and district hospitals. They have all been across the country. They have all been equipped with VIA facilities, and the staff nurses in the sub-center level and the medical officer in charge at the CSC and PSC level, they have been trained. Though on the ground, because I work in 8 blocks of Lucknow districts on ground for population-based screening of women who are above 30 years of age, that policy and guideline from the ICMR says that every woman who is above 30 years of age in the community, this includes rural communities also, has to be screened. And the screening facilities are existing at the sub-center and primary and community health centers. The problem here is that this program launched in 2018-19 in a very graduated fashion. And by the time the nurses and MOICs were trained, it was already, Corona was on, so these trainings happened online. As a result, the training, maybe they know something in theory, but the skill which is needed for doing a VIA and interpretation of VIA, that skill they haven't got. I am working on the ground to push this population-based screening, and my observation and experience says that, you know, we had to focus on training of these staff nurses and MOICs, though they say that at the sub-center level, even ANMs can do this screening. But I don't think in UP I have the observation and experience working that the ANM is really equipped with the skills to do this screening. Even the MOICs who are MBBS, DGO, they are working in the facilities, they have not done VIA and they do not know how to do it. And ICMR has come up with very detailed guidelines on it. And now this is the this has been included in the Ayushman Bharat program, and health and wellness clinics are all equipped. Wherever they are not equipped, they are being supported by PSI, by Japaigo, the other organization, and CSR fund. Like we are also working with the CSR fund. So these are the problems. So we should somewhere, we should from FOXI, we should push and support this program of the government, which is on the ground, and nearly all states they have. Maybe some states have not saturated, but most of the states, more than 50% of their population is supported by this program.
Right.
Thank you very
Right.
much. If there are any questions, I would like to entertain.
From the PMO office, it was said that all districts are being covered. Everywhere the machines are, that is, thermal ablation machine and the cryocautery has gone.
Yeah, they are available.
Yeah, and Willy has to be learned by the gynecologist, by the medical officer first. डॉक्टर साहब अभी तो उनको एएनएम में तो बहुत दूरी है डॉक्टर साहब. हमारे दिल्ली के 5,500 गायनोकोलॉजिस्ट थी, उसमें से 90% करके दिखा दे. I will change my name.
This is what I am saying, that we should focus on enabling the competence of people who are supposed to do the job. So I think now FOXI should pitch in.
Capacity building is very much required. First of the gynecologist.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gynecologist thought with the maternal mortality has come down. But doctor gynecologist को अपनी कमर कसनी पड़ेगी कैंसर सर्विस के लिए. उनको ना तो VIA आता है, ना उनको विली आता है, ना उनको वैक्सीनेशन के बारे में आता है, और बोलते I know. They don't know anything.
Ma'am, I would like to add here, you spoke about gynecologists. We see these youngsters, जैसे मैम ने कहा था, PS करते ही नहीं है. They just advise ultrasound for everything. A lady walks in clinic, ultrasonography. Nobody gets up from the seat to do a PS and PV, which was a routine part. Like
आपको head of the department क्यों बनाया? ये बताओ.
That's why we are now telling them to do. Then आजकल अब करते नहीं बच्चे. So you have to goad them to do it. You have to do it, and we are doing it. You also go ahead and do it.
Dr. Mani, they just now somebody said that patients are refusing PS. I can tell you that if you counsel anybody and any patient there, she will come in for a PS.
They do agree. That's part of examination. Otherwise, why they come to the hospital at all?
And your willpower and how you manage your patients, I think that's
some people, ma'am, come to gynae department to get a PS done.
Yes,
correct.
They don't feel that the gynae checkup has been done until unless PS has been done.
Yes.
Problem is that people are not doing it.
Exactly, and like madam said, 6 speculums in the morning and the same remaining in the end. It's because nobody wants to examine the patient.
Doc Saab, I as a chairman of the MAC,
I think, Madam Shada Jain,
आप speculum कर नहीं रहे हो.
And there's too much of reliance on ultrasound. I really don't understand what ultrasound is going to tell you. I mean, I always tell them ultrasound तुम्हारा cancer नहीं pick up कर सकता है. So I need to examine you. The ones who, hesitate for a PS examination. And most of the time, I would say 99% of the time, they're willing. Did they
Yeah.
understand the point?
Like most of the time, ma'am, it's the postmenopause category which is hesitating to get examined by the young gynecologist. This I have encountered in my OPD, and it really takes a lot of conviction with them to encourage them कि नहीं, PS is a must.
I think, Madam Shada Jan,
Yeah.
the way you have done, prevention of thalassemia in all the groups every day, you're sending messages, HCV, this. I think we have now to start this canvassing for cervix.
सर्वाइकल कैंसर में भी लोड करते हैं.
Yeah, I think we should say everybody should do at least 30 speculum
मैडम
examinations
मेरे
every day.
OPD में वो एम्बेसडर वाला अभी भी पड़ा है मैम 90%. 90 I have that. मैंने उसके ऊपर अपना नाम भी लिख दिया है.
Yeah, thalassemia I think has gone into everybody's head. So I think it's now time to
MCV,
put
MCH
serious
has
cervix.
gone into everybody's head.
Yeah,
And,
I think we should go on to the next session. It's 4 o'clock already.
Screening is also going
Yes.
to go.
90s,
And we go on to the
70s,
next panel
yeah,
discussion.
let's
It's
go.
4
And
o'clock.
I must
Only thing is we are
apologize for
getting
harsh
a bit-
words which I have spoken today, but this is what it was needed actually.
Ma'am, it's definitely required.
And that's the
We
reality.
certainly don't mind because, it's like
It's very much required, ma'am. You are very true in saying ki
Family.
most of the people nowadays, they are actually escaping the PS examination. That's the truth. And we should all
The
do
reality
that.
check
And your
for us.
advice is always very valuable. Only thing is we are getting slightly late for the next session. So I think we are going to move on with the next round, which is the panel discussion. I would like to welcome the chairperson.
And madam, 154 people are watching you. This is
156.
unprecedented number.
I'm really so impressed, Dr. Leena, Yogita, everybody. Yeah, Gitu Gaba. Now, welcome to all the 157 participants of now. Sorry, please proceed.
Yes, ma'am. Now, so I'd like to welcome the next chairpersons, ma'am, for the second session, which is the panel discussion. Dr. Indu Chawla, ma'am is a professor and consultant at RML Hospital, New Delhi. She is a recipient of various awards, and we all know her so very well. The next panelist is Dr. Mrinalini Mani. Ma'am is head of the department, Guru Gobind Singh Hospital. She is a past president DGF Southwest, and she is recipient of many awards. Next is Dr. Neeru Kiran Banerjee. She is a very well-known gynecologist in Dwarka, and she has been recipient of various awards, as you can see, and she has been an active participant in the social work being done in Dwarka level. So, Dr. Neeru, ma'am, can I request you to welcome our moderators for the session?
Yeah, I would like to welcome Dr. Neha Barun, Assistant Professor Obs and Gynae at AIIMS. So Dr. Neha will be moderating the session, the panel session, and Dr. Rishan Zheng Mo, she is Associate Professor Obs Gynae at AIIMS, New Delhi, and she'll be welcoming all the panelists and she'll be questioning the panelists. So over to Dr. Neha and Dr. Rishan.
Dr. Neha?
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, okay. Good afternoon, all. Thank you for giving the opportunity to moderate this panel. So today we are going to have our panel on management of pre-malignant lesions of cervix. Next slide. So first of all, I like to introduce my co-moderator, Dr. Ninchan. She is assistant professor with me in AIIMS. Next slide. So my esteemed panelist, Dr. Shweta Giri, she is a senior consultant gynae oncology, Venkateshwar Hospital. Welcome, ma'am. Dr. Bharti Seth, ma'am is a director, Bharti Nursing Home, Dwarka, New Delhi. Dr. Monica is not there with us. She has just dropped me a message today only. Dr. Neena Salangia, she is a consultant, Obs and Gynae Shri Hospital, Dwarka, New Delhi. Welcome, ma'am. Dr. Hema Malini Iyer, she is a head lab service and clinical-led anatomic pathology, Dharamshila Narayana, SSH Hospital, New Delhi. Welcome, ma'am. Dr. Sumana Banerjee, she is a consultant, Alaska Hospital. Welcome, ma'am. So I hand over to Dr. Rinchan to start this panel.
Thank you, Neha. Very good afternoon to all the organizers and the chairpersons. So we will start with our first case. This is a case of 24-year-old female who has HIV, and she has heard from her friend about cervical cancer. Now she comes to you for cervical cancer screening after reading from this cancer from the internet. So this question is for Dr. Shweta Giri. How will you proceed in her case, ma'am? Hello.
Dr. Shweta, ma'am, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, all. Thanks for organizers for giving me the opportunity. Yeah, I would like to take the question. It is a 24-year-old woman with HIV. WHO recommends that in HIV or in any immunocompromised women, it is better to start the screening at the age of the 25 years, and it should be the cervical cytology test. FOXI recommends it should be within 1 year of the initiation of the sexual activity.
Yes. So very rightly said, ma'am. So in this female, if she's very apprehensive, we can offer her screening at the same moment if she's if she's sexually active and she's apprehensive. Otherwise, we can ask her to come at 25 years of age. So WHO suggests screening to be stopped after 50 years of age in all females, whether HIV positive or negative, after 2 consecutive negative screening. And WHO suggests a regular screening interval of every 3 to 5 years in HIV positive women when we're using HPV DNA test as the primary screening test. So they also suggest that HPV DNA should be used as the primary screening test for detection of cervical cancer. And the sample can be taken either by the healthcare provider or can be a self-collected sample as discussed by Dr. Gitu in her presentation. And in resource-limited areas where HPV testing is not available, screening can be done by VIA or cytology every 3 years for HIV positive females. So yeah, the next question is for Dr. Bharti Seth. So this woman undergoes at the age of 25 years, and she's found to have high-risk HPV on HPV testing. So what next?
Good afternoon, everybody. So we can see at the tender age of 25 years, she has got HPV high-risk positive. So we can understand how, tremendous her anxiety must be. So first of all, my duty will be to counsel her that she has read a lot about this HPV from the internet and heard from the friends also that HPV, she might be taking it as a HPV is like equivalent to having a CA cervix. But I really have to counsel her that she should not worry, but she has to undergo certain other tests. Right? We have to triage her with the VIA or cytology. In the good resource settings, she can be subjected to colposcopy directly and can get the biopsy done. But in the low resource settings, we need to, subject her for the VIA or cytology. If VIA or cytology, any of them is positive, then she has to be subjected to the colposcopy. And if it is negative, then we can always ask her to repeat this HPV DNA after 1 year. And then we can again decide about it. So she really has to try us for this HPV, being HPV positive.
Yes, ma'am. So rightly answered, ma'am. Neha, next question, please. Yes, so this question has also been answered by Dr. Bharti. So on triage, she is found to have a negative report. So how to proceed further? Ma'am, you have already answered. So would you like to...
No, but she has to be retested after 1 year.
Yes,
and
yes.
If she's negative, then we can always ask her to, recommend her regular screening intervals, whatever is being advised for cytology, it's 3 years. And if it is HPV DNA, it's 5 years.
Yes, ma'am. Right, ma'am. So the second, coming to the case number 2, this is a 45 years old female. She's para-2 live-2. She comes to the gynae OPD with a cytology report of ascus, and she is HPV positive. So this question is for Dr. Hema Malini Iyer. Ma'am, could you please discuss the classification of precancerous lesions of cervix? Dr. Hema.
So at the outset, what we are going to look at in terms of precancerous lesions of the cervix will be what we call squamous intraepithelial lesions of the cervix. And as the name suggests, they are limited to the epithelium and have not invaded the basement membrane. Squamous intraepithelial lesions of the cervix are basically squamous proliferations, and they are driven by HPV infection. And they show maturation abnormalities and or viral cytopathic changes. And they're divided into low-grade and high-grade cells. Next slide, please. L-cell, basically, or low-grade squamous intraepithelial lesion encompasses what we call CIN1, as well as all viral cytopathic changes, including condylomas, and the high-grade cells cover CIN2 and 3 and or carcinoma in situ. The term carcinoma in situ is now dropped from the lexicon. It is included in CIN3 itself. And basically what we need to differentiate is CIN1 versus 2, 3. And all of these lesions, we must remember, are asymptomatic and cannot be detected by the patient. There will be no symptoms. The patient won't have anything as a result, and can only be detected either by visual inspection or colposcopy, or on screening by pap smear and or HPV. Next slide, please. So LCIL and HCIL are now the preferred diagnostic terminology in both cytology and histology. And as per current WHO recommendations, LCIL and HCIL is now the preferred terminology of choice for all lower anogenital tract lesions, including vulva, vagina, anal, and cervical lesions. And we use a common platform and a common diagnostic terminology for all, basically because they're all associated with the same driver, that is HPV. And there's improved reproducibility in diagnosis if we use a 2-tiered system rather than a 3-tiered system of CIN1, 2, and 3. Next slide. Yeah, this is just a very basic photograph which illustrates on the top left low-grade cell, the way it appears to us on cytology, and high-grade cell on the right, where it appears on cytology. And these are basically thin prep slides, or LBC, that is. And this is the corresponding, on the lower half is the corresponding histology. And on the left, lower left, is the corresponding histology of low-grade cell. You can make out the bluish tint is restricted to the lower third of the epithelium. And on the right-hand side, the bluish tint is extending upwards to involve almost 2/3. Next slide. So if we have a diagnostic difficulty in assessing LCIL versus HCIL on a biopsy specimen, we can resort to IHC for P16. P16 is basically an immunohistochemical marker that can be used as a surrogate marker for transcriptionally active high-risk HPV subtypes. And if it shows block positivity throughout the epithelium, then it is indicative of a high-grade squamous epithelial lesion. And that's it from my side.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Very nicely explained. So this is the Bethesda system for reporting for pap smear. Yeah. So in this, yeah, can we have the next slide? Yeah. So in this, the abnormalities can be classified as epithelial cell abnormalities and glandular cell abnormalities. So in this, the first one is NILM, that is negative for intraepithelial lesion on malignancy. That is a normal pap smear report. And then we have ASCUS, that is atypical squamous cells of undetermined significance. Then ASC-H, atypical squamous cells where a high-grade lesion, high-grade squamous cell lesion cannot be ruled out. And then we have LCIL and HCIL as discussed by Dr. Hema. And then squamous cell carcinoma. In glandular cell abnormalities, we have atypical glandular cells, and then AGCFN, atypical glandular cells, which favor neoplastic etiology. And then we have adenocarcinoma in C2. Next slide. So what is the next step of management in this case? This question was for Dr. Aditi. I think she's not around. So I'll answer this question. Next. Yeah. So in a patient with ASCUS with HPV positive, so what next? The next step in this is colposcopy and guided biopsy. So if colposcopy shows a negative report, a normal report, then we will advise her to undergo co-testing or just HPV testing after 1 year. And if colposcopy shows abnormal report, then we have to manage according to the FOXI CIN management, which will follow in the coming slides. So for the next case, I would like to ask Neha to carry forward. Neha.
Yes, thank you, Rinjan. So coming to our case 3, she is a 35-year-old lady, para 2 living 2 with discharged PV since 2 years on and off. General physical examination and systemic examination is normal. On per speculum examination, there was a curdy white discharge, although cervix appears healthy. On per vaginal examination, normal size uterus, bilateral fornix is free. So we have done VIA for this patient, and the VIA is showing dull aceto-white area on the anterior lip of the cervix. Pap smear is showing LCIL. Colposcopy was done, and which is showing a sweet score 6. And we have taken a biopsy from the anterior lip of the cervix, which is showing CIN1. Next slide. So, Dr. Sumana Banerjee, ma'am, could you please tell us what is to be done next in this case?
Good evening, everybody. In this case, as the our report shows CIN1, so our patient will need a more careful follow-up. And as the CIN1 is likely to regress in 57% of cases, but it do persist for when we do a further follow-up in 32% of cases. And it progresses to further grades in almost 11% of cases. So we have to call this patient for follow-up. According to Foxy chart, we will follow up this patient. So we will check the preceding our HPV report and cytology reports. And if this patient has LCL or ASCUS on her cytology report, then we will be doing co-testing with cytology and VIA at around in the gap of 1 to 2 years. If she tests negative, then we can go back to a routine testing. But even after 1 year, if she is positive, then again we will go for colposcopy and biopsy. If she still shows CIN1, then again next year we will follow her up with a co-testing with cytology and VIA. Again, if she tests positive, then we will be going for colposcopy and biopsy. But if this persists for 2 years, that is, if the CIN1 persists for 2 years, then we will have to go for further procedure that can be either ablative or excisional procedure. And if at any time these colposcopy biopsy progresses to CIN2 or 3, then we will be following as per the Foxy guidelines, which will be discussed on later. And if the preceding HPV or cytology report is as ASCH or HSIL, that is the higher grade of lesions, then we can either go for co-testing at 6 months with the cytology, and or we can directly go for diagnostic excisional procedures.
Rightly said, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. So basically, these all charts which we have taken in this presentation are mainly from the Foxy GCPR guideline, and it has come in 2018. So for all practical purpose, CIN1 is a low-grade lesion, so we can very well proceed with the observation in this case. But we have to check our preceding HPV and the ASCUS reports. So, and very importantly, if the CIN1 is persisting for 2 years, then definitely we need to go for some ablative or excisional type of a procedure. Next slide. So, ma'am, Dr. Sumana, what are the conditions do you think where treatment is actually required in cases of CIN1?
Ma'am, as we discussed that the previous, if it is persisting, the CIN1 report is persisting for 2 years in our report, then we have to go for the further management. Then the treatment is required, ablative or excisional. And in our cases, the kind of settings that we are sitting in, non-compliance or non-follow-up is a very high chance in our practice. So in those cases, if we are able to make out that this patient will not follow up with us or is not going to be compliant, then we should offer that the lady the excision or a ablative procedure. Or as we said, after 1 year of co-testing, if this worsens into CIN2 or 3, that is this lesion progresses to CIN2 or 3, then we have to again go for our therapeutic procedures. And in case of there is history of ASCUS or higher grades, ASCH, and if the lady is immunocompromised, then we have to see.
Yes, ma'am. So very important in our type of a setting where we people are working is that the patients, they are not compliant for follow-up. They are, they are coming from, like here we are sitting in AIIMS, they are coming from very far places. So once they are coming to us, and then nobody knows they will come to us next time or not. So this is a very important point for looking at the treatment and whatever we are advising the patient who is showing CIN1. So this is a most important thing we need to look for in the patients. Next slide. So now how will you follow up after treatment in cases of CIN? Dr. Monica is not there, so I will answer the next. So we have already discussed in the chart that whenever we are treating the CIN1, we have to rescreen with VIA or cytology after 1 year, and if negative, she can very well return to the routine screening. Next slide. So I will take 5 minutes just to tell this routine screening because many of our students may be attending this webinar. So this is again I have taken from the Foxy GCPR 2018 ones. This is a resource-based cervical cancer screening recommendation. So they have divided into two: the good resource setting and the limited resource setting. So in good resource, we can have a HPV testing, which can be primary or which can be co-testing with the cytology or cytology alone, colposcopy or biopsy or VIA. While in a limited resource setting, we can have a VIA or we can have a colposcopy and biopsy. Like HPV testing is not available in the limited resource settings. So our target age group is 25 to 65 years. We can start cytology at 25 years and primary HPV and co-testing at 30 years. If we are doing with the primary HPV testing or co-testing, then every 5 yearly we have to test the patient. And if we are doing cytology alone, then every 3 years we need to screen. Next slide. Next slide, Deepika. So very importantly, when to stop this screening. So it is very important that at 65 with consistent negative result in last 15 years, then we can stop at 65. But suppose if the patient is coming for the first time with no prior screening, then we can test once at 65 years. And if negative, they should exit the screening. And one thing I like to tell in this, that screening following abnormal reports or more than equal to CIN2 plus or irrespective of method of treatment, we need to screen these patients for at least 20 years. Next slide. So now coming to case 4, she is a 30-year-old female, para 3, live 3. She came to the gynae OPD with the complaints of itching and discharge PV for 1 year. The journal physical and systemic examination is normal. On first speculum, there is a candida discharge. Pap smear is showing LCIL. Then we have done VIA, which is showing a large acetocyte area on anterior lip, and the colposcopy is showing sweet score 9. So we have done a colposcopic directed cervical biopsy, which is showing CIN2. Next slide. So, Dr. Neena, can you please tell us that if treatment is required in this case?
Hello, good evening, everyone. Well, yes, the treatment is required in this patient because she has completed her family and the colposcopy report is showing us to be CIN2. Now, if you don't treat it, we have seen that although 40 to 60% patients they regress, but still 20% progress to CIN3, and out of that, 5% can still go on to invasive cancer. So I believe that we should treat the patient, definitely treat the patient.
Yes, ma'am. So for all purpose like CIN1, like CIN2 and 3 lesions, the treatment is recommended. So there is one trial, ASCUS LCIL triad study for cervical cancer randomized trial, and it shows that regression of CIN2 is less likely in women with HPV 16 subtype. Previous slide, please. And the CIN, they have a lower rates of progression than CIN3. So 2 and 3 lesions, the treatment is recommended. Next slide. So this is a Foxy chart for the treatment, for the screening and the treatment of the CIN2 and 3 on the histology. So when we get the 2 or 3 on the histology, we review our colposcopy findings. So if the colposcopy is adequate, we recommend excision of the transformation zone or ablation. Then we follow the patient with repeat HPV and cytology or VIA at 1 to 2 years. The test negative at 1 to 2 years. Then we again repeat HPV and cytology and VIA at 3 years. If that is also negative, then we can very well return to the routine screening. But if our previous slide, please. If our colposcopy report is inadequate or endocervical curettage is positive or it is a recurrent CIN, then we'll directly go for the diagnostic excisional procedure. And then we'll see whether the margins are negative or positive. If they are negative, we can go to this screening like we are doing in the adequate colposcopy report. But if at all the margins are positive, then there are 2 options. Whether we either we can go for a repeat cytology and ECC at 6 months, and then we can follow the Foxy CIN management GCPR, or if the repeat cone biopsy or hysterectomy can be done if technically repeat cone not feasible or patient is non-compliant. Next slide. So this is again a chart for the CIN 2 or 3 patients who are young women desirous of the pregnancy. So in these patients, we try to be conservative rather than doing the excisional procedure, because definitely we all know that it is associated with the obstetric complications like preterm labor. So we can go with the cytology and colposcopy at 6 months. If the lesion persists, we again repeat cytology and colposcopy at 1 year. And if the cytology is negative or improving or normal colposcopy, then repeat co-testing after 1 year, normal reports. Then we follow up the patient at 3 years. And in the facilities where other things are available, like we can go for P16 or Ki67, some ancillary tests are present, we can very well do that, and we see whether they are negative or positive. And if CIN3 with inadequate colposcopy is there, we directly go for the excisional procedure. Next slide. So, ma'am, could you please tell us the follow-up of the treatment? Although we have already discussed in the charts, can you please briefly tell us?
Yes, for these patients, although we are doing the excisional and this thing, but a follow-up with a HPV or a co-testing, which is preferred. Co-testing means HPV and pap smear together, or a cytology at 6 months, then 1 year and 2 years is must. And if the test is negative, we can go back to the routine screening of doing a PAPS every 3 years or an HPV after every 5 years.
Thank you, ma'am. Next slide. So the conditions associated with increased risk of recurrence or persistence. Next slide. So there are certain conditions which are associated with the increased risk of recurrence and persistence. So the patients who are older than 40 years, glandular involvement, if the patients are having large lesions, if the margins after excisional procedure are positive, and if the patient is immunocompromised or having a HIV co-infection. So in these patients, we usually see their lesions persist or worsens. So now coming to the case 5, she is a 36-year-old lady, para 2 live 2, presented to gynae OPD with the complaints of foul smelling discharge, PV for 3 years. And there are 2 episodes of postcoital bleeding. General physical examination and systemic examination are normal. On per speculum examination, it is showing a hypertrophied irregular cervix. On per vaginal examination, uterus is anteverted, normal size, bilateral fornix is free, but the cervix is firm and bleeds on touch. So we have done VIA in this patient, which is showing a positive report. The pap smear is showing HSIL and high-risk HPV is positive. So we have done a colposcopy and guided biopsy for this patient, which is showing CIN3. Next slide. Briefly, I just want to briefly discuss about the indications and the contraindications of colposcopy and the sweet scoring. Next slide. So the indications of colposcopy, I have just taken all possible indications of colposcopy. So the first and foremost is definitely evaluation of women with an abnormal pap test to localize the lesion, to map out the extent of lesion, and to select the biopsy site. Second is the evaluation of women positive for high-risk HPV DNA, evaluation of VIA positive women, evaluation of suspiciously appearing cervix and postcoital or postmenopausal bleeding. Even if the pap smear is normal, then we like to do a colposcopy. Unexplained abnormal lower genital tract bleeding. Next slide. So the persistent inflammatory or unsatisfactory cervical cytology despite appropriate treatment, especially the high risk factor, the patients who are having a high risk factor for CA cervix, we directly go for colposcopy. Evaluation of persistent abnormal vaginal discharge of pruritus vulvae, identification and management of subclinical papillomavirus infection, history of in utero diethyl stilbestrol exposure, conservative management of intraepithelial neoplasia, identification and management of vaginal extension of cervical neoplasia, and the post-treatment follow-up after treatment of intraepithelial and invasive carcinoma and post-irradiation follow-up. Next slide. So practically, there is no specific contraindication to a colposcopy other than an active or untreated cervical or vaginal infections. Rest in all cases, we can perform colposcopy. Secondly, if the patient is pregnant, again, we can perform a colposcopy, but yes, certain step of colposcopy procedure has to be excluded. Like the ECC component, we cannot perform due to potential risk of adverse effect on the pregnancy without substantial benefit. Secondly, the pregnancy can limit management options due to the fact that cervical excisional procedure are contraindicated during pregnancy. So coming to the SWEET scoring. So in the SWEET scoring, we have the 5 parameters and we score them from 0, 1 and 2. So we take aceto uptake, margins and surface, vessels, lesion size and iodine staining. Next slide. And then we calculate the total score. So the overall SWEET score, if it is from 0 to 4, it is a low grade or normal and CIN 1. If it is from 5 to 6, it is a high grade or a non-invasive cancer, CIN 2+. And if it is 7 to 10, it is high grade or suspected invasive cancer, CIN 2+. Next slide. So, Dr. Shweta ma'am, could you please tell us what should be done in this patient? What next we should do? The next slide. So basically, she is a CIN 3 patient, and we have already discussed in our flow charts that CIN 3, if left untreated, it is a spontaneous regression rate is around 32 to 47%, but progressing to invasive cancer is around 12 to 40%. So CIN 2 and 3 lesions, the treatment is recommended. We are not going to do any conservative kind of a treatment. Next slide. So the management should include the leaf, which is an excisional procedure, or we can very well go for the cone biopsy. Next slide. So this I have already discussed. This is the same chart which is used for CIN 2 and 3. Next slide. So regarding the follow-up of this patient after treatment, how we are going to follow the CIN 3 patient. So the follow-up at 12 months and 24 months post-procedure with HPV and cytology or VIA, and if negative, we can return to screening every 2 to 3 years. Next slide. Dr. Gitu, can we continue with the questions?
Yeah, sure. I think it's we have time. We have 15 minutes.
Okay. So our case 6, Dr. Rinchen.
Yeah. So this is the next case. This is a 28-year-old female, primary gravida at 30 weeks gestation, and she comes to you with a biopsy report of CIN 1. So how do you proceed in this case?
Any panelist want to volunteer for this question?
So CIN in pregnancy, this is again from the FOXY GCPR guidelines. So any woman coming with a CIN report in pregnancy, first of all, we will review the colposcopy report for adequacy. So if the colposcopy report is adequate, we'll check whether it is a low-grade lesion or a high-grade lesion or an invasive cancer. So if it is a low-grade lesion, we will ask the woman to follow up after 6 weeks postpartum, and we'll do a colposcopy at 6 weeks. If it is a high-grade lesion on colposcopy, then we can repeat the colposcopy in every trimester to rule out any invasive disease. And if that is not, if invasive disease is ruled out at each colposcopy, we can review and treat at 6 weeks postpartum. If it is an invasive cancer, then we can offer her treatment according to the period of gestation. So if she is in advanced gestation around 34 weeks, 35 weeks, we can deliver and then manage accordingly. If it is an early gestation, we can offer her abortion and then manage. So in this case, she's a 30 weeks gestation and CIN 1. So we can follow her up at 6 weeks postpartum and we can do a colposcopy then. Next slide, please. Yeah. I discussed. Next question, next case is again a 32-year-old female who presents to you with a pap smear report showing unsatisfactory smear. So this happens, I think this must have happened with all of you once in your OPD patients. So how do you manage a patient with unsatisfactory smear? Anyone from the audience or the panelists who want to answer this question? Anyone wants to answer? Okay. So in a case of unsatisfactory smear, again, this is on cytology, right? So we review if whether she has had this HPV report available or not. So if HPV report is available and if it is negative, we can return to routine screening in this case. And if HPV report is positive, we will again follow FOXY GCPR screening guidelines as already discussed. If HPV report is not available, or if the patient is less than 30 years of age, we can go for a repeat cytology in 2 to 4 months time. So again, if the repeat cytology is unsatisfactory, we will go for colposcopy. If it is ascus or more, we will again follow FOXY GCPR guidelines as discussed already. And if it is negative for intraepithelial lesions or malignancies, we will return to routine screening. Okay, fine.
Next slide, please. So just want to summarize this panel. So the persistent infection of HPV is essential for the progression to carcinoma. The high quality screening programs can decrease the incidence of CS cervix. Co-testing is preferred over cytology for screening above 30 years of age. Primary HPV testing can be used as a screening above 25 years of age. Ministry of Health and Family Welfare recommend VIA as a method of screening above 30 years of age. At least once in lifetime screening at 35 years of age is recommended. So the biomarkers, especially the P16, INCA4 and Ki67 can be used as a triad screening. Colposcopy is indicated in the patients with the HPV positive or cytology suggestive of ASC higher grade. Next slide. So no surgical technique is better in treating precancerous lesion of cervix. CKC is preferred over LEEP in histologically confirmed adenocarcinoma in situ. Excisional treatment increases the risk of preterm delivery more than ablative techniques. Bone depth preferably to be kept less than 10 mm. Colposcopy in pregnancy better to do 6 weeks postpartum. 2-dose vaccination has similar efficacy as of 3-dose regime. So thank you all from our side. I think we can have some opinion from the chairpersons now. Anybody?
Can I ask a question, please? Can I ask a question? Mostly when we do a pap smear, we get a report saying that there's infection and repeat pap smear. So what should we do then? Suppose we get a pap smear report, we take a liquid based cytology, and we get the report that everything is okay, but there's some infection, so repeat after some time. So how long should we wait before we repeat?
So any of the panelists wants to answer? Or
Dr. Geetu, the report is generally, it says inflammatory, it won't say infection. If it says
sorry, inflammatory, inflammatory smear.
So
that's
if
what
it says infection, it will say either trichomonas or candida, then you can treat accordingly.
But inflammatory report, when they say, then what to do?
Yeah, you then assess clinically, if there is no organism detected, and treat her, and maybe after 6 to 12 weeks, that's my opinion, you can do a repeat pap smear.
But mostly when we are taking for screening, we're doing PS, and mostly we don't find any inflammation, but we get the reports like that.
She's got some element of endocervicitis, like if she had previous chlamydia infection. So you get, inflammatory.
Thank you.
We do get a lot of inflammatory smears.
Mostly.
You are absolutely right. And a large percentage. So thank you very much. I think beautifully conducted panel discussion and very good carry home messages. And I have just few points to make, maybe repetition, it might look repetition. The first case, HPV positive, we gynecologists, we do from one extreme to other. Either we don't do pap smear or HPV, or if she turns up with HPV positive report and we convey with our body language as if she's developed CA. Like patient might do some net searching. So we have to counsel the patient. HPV positive is not synonymous. She needs triaging and accordingly treatment or whatever. And second, CIN1, though FOXI guidelines, they say CIN1, you do observation for 2 years, and if she progresses or remains same, and then you'd give treatment. But what about our patients, who are coming from villages, there's a possibility that anyway they are going for home deliveries and she may not turn up, and maybe then you can take a call what to do for that patient, If patient you feel is going to come back with CIN1, yes, we follow the guidelines. And CIN2 and 3, definitely we need treatment. But have a look at the colposcopy. Like it has been done by a good colposcopist, whole of transformation zone has been seen, and endocervical curettage is negative, and it has been curated, Most of the time people forget or don't do it. And if it's only negative, then only go for ablative procedures, And if the lesion is covering more than 75%, then they are not the right candidates for ablative. It's better to go for excisional procedures. So that's my carry home messages, but do something, So very important messages, please do pap smear or whatever is available to you via Willy, HPV, depending on the resource. One question from my side for the panelists, Like who's using cryo? Anybody using cryo?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Yes, we are using
Yeah, because
we are all using cryo.
we are using it more than the lead.
Sakshi, are you facing problems with the machine or anything? Because we are thinking of acquiring one. So
No.
No,
Very
cryo
good.
is-
We have one in the hospital, and because it was part of my thesis actually.
Yeah.
So I used cryo in Harding 30 years
Yeah,
back. So with that laser, I had used cryo at that time. So I have my own cryo also. So you get machines from 1 lakh, but even for 12,000 or 15,000, you get the machines, and they're really good. It's a very good, it's a blessing. Cryo is definitely a blessing for
And
bad discharges.
and the see and treat aspect, no, the OPD cryo use, I think, is really wonderful. We are also using it a lot.
And very gratifying,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
patients with infertility and those strawberry cervix and everything. They do so well after that. I mean, I'm like anyway a diehard fan, but yeah, I really feel that cryo is something which is really underutilized by all of us. And you get very cheap machines also, which are as good.
oh, in the hospital, we can afford to buy the.
That's what I'm saying. The hospital may get a 1 lakh machine also.
Yeah.
But it's very good. Very good. There's no problem with maintenance. I think we got one in our hospital 15 years back, still working perfectly.
Dr. Indu, we had a basic machine, like I'm from a government sector, so I can also pitch in, which was just 5,000 long time back. It worked well for 10 years.
Yes.
We recently condemned it, and now we are going for a higher version, which is present on GEM also. So now we are going for a higher version.
Yeah,
So
I
they
think
do
I
very
had
well.
the 5,001 which worked for I think about again 10-15 years.
Yes.
Then I bought
And
another
patient
one
is
for
also very
12,000.
satisfied. Those who
It
come with
works
chronic
as
discharge,
well.
they are very satisfied afterwards. Yeah.
So
And I would
chairpersons, Meenakshi and others.
I think, Dr. Indu, your words, I agree with completely your whole synopsis of the whole fabulous CME. And I agree with you that, like you said, that in CIN1, when we say that wait and watch, I don't think that wait and watch policy works for anyone. It doesn't work in the government sector where patients may be lost to follow up. It doesn't work in the private sector also. Because again, patients may not come back. And secondly, not doing anything, they will never forgive you when it gets worse.
Yeah.
Because they say that we came to you at a time when you could have done something. So I am absolutely agree to your this thing that CIN1 can't be left untreated, because I think guidelines are meant with resource settings which may not be available to all, and we should take them as minimum required rather than what has to be done. That's the way we must look at guidelines.
And
that you can
the
get
moment-
away by it, but that's not what is a recommendation.
And the moment you say that you have CIN or something, patients, you will not leave you anyway. They'll say, do something right now.
They want some
No,
definitive
we must
treatment to
put,
be done.
yeah, we have to put ourselves in the patient's position.
Yeah,
We could
because-
never have said CIN1 and not do anything.
Yeah.
So how
Yeah,
can
even the HPV DNA test, when it comes positive, like you said, Googling and, coming to the worst case scenario, patient comes back and, keeps quizzing you now what to do, what should I do?
Yeah.
So that itself is quite worrisome for the
In fact, in
patient.
HPV positive patients with the maybe pap smears, CIN1 or LCL, cryo gives very good results, don't you think?
Yes.
Most of the patients
So
they insist
I
on
must,
hysterectomy once they read actually. So they want
So
a definitive treatment.
There
rather
is
than a
one
follow-up.
person who has given a very interesting point, which I think we must say. She has said, Dr. Poonam says, most opt for a hysterectomy.
Yes, that's
So
what I was
yes,
saying.
especially.
I was about to say that.
They want to just get it out. There's a future chance to just get
When
it
you
out.
can treat at the cryo level, there are a lot
We
of
have to
people who are
counsel them.
suggesting this.
I know someone, she's a nurse in Ambedkar, and she had a report of CIN2, and she was after our live 2 hysterectomy. She was 42 and we did a hysterectomy on her finally.
So
Get
I
ready
must
to convince.
share another experience, which is some different sort of case. I had a patient once who was married and she had separated from her partner and she was about to get married again. And she turned out to be HPV positive and there was a lesion. And we did cryo for her. We gave her the HPV vaccination after that, saying that once it's cured, maybe it will not come back again, because HPV is at the end of the day in the superficial cells and not in your bloodstream. 6 months later after cryo, I usually see our patients turn HPV negative. And what we do is also at that time, especially for that girl, she was getting married the next month and moving to Canada. We vaccinated her husband also. Because if by chance there's any HPV, at least he will also not get it. So that's another thing that at least in those case scenarios, you must always consider, if they're unmarried or something, that you must recommend that treat it, it becomes HPV negative also. And probably the partner should also be considered as far as the HPV vaccination goes.
Yeah, and I would like to add that panel was extremely good, and the case selection right from low grade to the invasive cancer and special scenarios like pregnancy and HIV were tackled. And what I have done in my OPD, because we get a lot of residents, we keep on changing the staff, turnover is very high. So we have put up these FOXY GPCRA guidelines in the OPD, like we have for thalassemia in the OPD, PPH in the labor room. So we have put these charts on there, so it's a ready reckoner for anyone who's there to just see the report and what is to be done.
Yeah, because
So
it's very difficult to remember these charts. So
Yeah.
it's better that we just display them and just
also,
go there. Okay,
one
this
thing
is
on
this one.
our trolleys, where we have our speculums, we have put, because we can't go in for HPV in our government sector, and always sometimes the colposcope is also not working it out of order. So what we have done is we have put acetic acid there, Lugol iodine, and those swab sticks. So we just do a PS, suspicious, just put in a VIA, karo, dekho, and accordingly treat the patient or guide her accordingly. And we take down their phone numbers if we find something wrong, because then they don't turn up for follow-up. So we ask our ANMs and sisters, staff nurses to call them back when we get those reports, actually. So that is what we are doing, just trying to get those and counsel them. Like you mentioned earlier, counseling is the most important part here. And they have to realize. And yes, of course, patients are enlightened these days. They do come for asking for pap smears.
Also,
अगर नहीं
vaccination,
होता
I
so
think.
फिर they keep on saying नहीं madam कब होगा कब होना है आज ही कर दो, like we
I'm
have
getting-
dedicated screening days, so they say अभी कर दो, so we do offer them that.
I am also getting lots of young, just
Yeah.
married females for vaccinations.
That's right.
They
do
hear from
ask.
someone and they come for vaccination. Now they are getting aware that
yes.
We should concentrate on vaccination boys also. No?
Yes.
Yeah, that is another point I wanted to make. That Government of India is recommending it only for females.
Yeah, but
So in UK, Australia,
Those who can always
there's
afford
the
can
same
have it.
mentality. Ki give it only to girls. It's their responsibility, not the men's responsibility. So we should have some foxy people or our seniors and leaders to tell Government of India that it needs to be given to boys also. And maybe people will spend money to give this vaccine to boys. With penile cancers and all can happen with the HPV DNA. So maybe if they're not spending it on girls, at least they'll spend it on their boys and get them vaccinated.
And we should be utilizing more of these free 2 centers of Delhi Cancer Institute and Janakpur
No, but
specialty.
I have
And
not
we should
had
be
very good
utilizing for the
experiences.
government sector. At least we can send up
I
patients.
am not
there.
having a very good experience because I am in Janakpuri and I send the patient
Okay.
there and they don't vaccinate them. They
They
send
don't?
them back. They send them back.
You know,
So I'm not-
Janakpur super specialty. Yeah.
Yeah, they are not. Very few,
No,
if you know
I just-
someone, only then they are vaccinated. Otherwise, if I send my patients there, if they can't afford, most of them are sent back.
Gitu, you're absolutely right. And, when we were talking about the stress on vaccination, and you remember in the first part when we were talking in your lecture, what I have seen, and I'm sure you are also seeing in your practice, a lot of people are, our own community of gynecologists tells the patient, no, you're 30, you're too late for the vaccination. I don't know why. And I'm having these patients coming and asking me, can we take it? Because we've been told we are too late for the vaccination. So I think if we do just the vaccination thing, we take the focus on that, we'll be doing a lot. Just that thing which we can do. Okay, it may be for women only right now. Like you mentioned that, we should start thinking of it for boys, but it's not happening. But then at least we can, start by giving vaccination.
Yeah,
And the
there
fact that a woman who comes at 55 and she says, I'm going to take it, why are we saying no to her? I mean, okay, it is
Don't
there
discourage
till
at least.
45 in our country, but a woman who wants it at 55 can also be. Why
Yeah,
not?
we can
That's
tell
what
her
ma'am
ki-
was talking about actually.
Yeah,
Dr.
Why
Insani.
not give?
Why not? Yeah, they can afford it, then why
And
not?
especially,
I've had so
I
many people
think ma'am
saying
only
she's
told
more
me.
than 15.
I think we should be doing a lot of postpartum vaccination also.
Yes, yes.
That is something where the women are with us, talk about it in the antenatal checkup. And probably after delivery, I mean, I vaccinate all my patients who have not been vaccinated earlier
Same here.
postpartum.
Same here.
Similarly, same post-mortal and otherwise.
Yeah.
Whenever the
Yeah.
patient comes to you, you must put a column on your prescription saying, has she been vaccinated for HPV or not? That's one. Secondly, there's another question in the chat box asking that if Gardasil 9 is available. Yes, it is available. I'm using it.
Yeah, I have also used it
9
now.
is currently recommended only for girls under 26. We are not giving it to people over 26 because currently that's the recommendation. It is recommended for boys also, but at least the guidelines internationally say less than 14 only. The vaccine, there are the same 2 doses and 3 doses, and the like this one costs about 3,500, the Gardasil 4. Gardasil 9 costs about 12,500. So that is something that you have to take in with a pinch of salt. But yes, it is available freely. Patients are asking for it. And at least in the private setup where patients say, no, we want the same vaccine which is given in America, China, or Australia or UK, you must be aware that the vaccine is available and it can be given. So we are giving it routinely.
It's a little cheaper for the doctors.
Yeah, about 10,000.
9,000.
About
Yeah.
9,000 or something.
Yeah.
9,200 to the doctors. I just got it for.
Yeah, yeah. I've been using it regularly.
Yeah,
And I want to also talk about one case that Dr. Leena only told me, that in cases of benign warts, if you give vaccine, that is also very helpful.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
she was
same
multiple,
thing, you know, because
multivaginal warts, florid warts, you know, and after excising the big group, just vaccinated her, and she within 20 days, all those small remnants just fell off. It was wonderful. Young woman, just married, nullipara. So,
now there again, the role of giving the vaccine to her husband would also be there.
yes,
yes.
I think we can find her.
Wonderfully conducted.
If ma'am has any final words for us, ma'am is still there, I think, or madam is still
I'm
there.
there. We still, have 126 participants. So that's really very nice. I mean, I think this is a wonderful talk and it's so interactive.
It would be good if, you can share the slides also for people who can join it.
Yes.
You can put them in the code group and we can ask all the presidents to share, because this is something, it's like education, and it's very, very important that the messages get across.
So we get the recording and we'll share it, share the recording. So thank you very much, all the panelists and all the chairpersons for this wonderful interactive CME. And this is the 5th CME by DGF Dwarka, and I think we were really very happy because there were so many points. Cancer cervix is something which is very dear to everyone's hearts, and we've all been, like ma'am said, ki just being an ambassador is not enough. You've got to work for it, and you have to keep continuing working. I think right from the time when we were postgraduates, we've been seeing so much of cancer cervix. Women coming from the hills and not coming for the first time to a hospital, and the first thing you see is a lesion. She's never got herself examined. So what I feel is, over the years, in these last 30 years, there's been a tremendous amount of improvement. You're not really getting those kind of patients coming in. I don't know how it is in the government hospitals, but overall, our impression is that there are less number of those cases coming in, which is really good. But there's a lot of work to be done. We really have to catch them at the very early stage. And it is these, cases like which were highlighted so beautifully in the panel discussion on the pre-malignant lesions. That's where we've got to, catch those patients. The gray zone is calling your patients back and ensuring that they come back. Currently, we don't have any system other than what we ourselves do in our private clinics of calling back our patients for pap smears. But we don't have any central, agency which monitors patients and calls them back for the pap smears with their gynecologist. So those are some of the areas which over a period of time, hopefully we'll see a lot of improvement. So thank you very much for being here, and thank you very much,
Jagsonpal Pharmaceuticals, Dr. Deepika Chabra and her team. Thank you for all the coordination and for putting it on the Facebook Live. And definitely you would be giving us a recording, which we will again share. Thanks to my entire executive of DGF Dwarka for being there and sharing your valuable inputs into this CME. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Leena, for including us. It was a wonderful.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. And I think the final word will come from Dr. Deepika. Thank you for your wonderful.
I must say that it was a really very excellent symposium, and we've already highlighted everything. All I want to add that now we must think about the society, come up with more ideas. What CMEs do you want on? And we have to decide about what is the plan for January. Do we have anything in January?
We've got plenty, but a lot of people are crying for a physical meeting. And the way Omicron is, coming in, creeping in, just to let you know, ma'am, whenever I have seen that Obs-Gynae comes into a corporate hospital OBGY, then it is coming in the community. And,
no, let us not talk about physical meeting now.
Okay.
I'm saying that we can have different disciplines. We've already had oncology, high-risk pregnancy, fetal medicine, and now we think about something else. Maybe somebody
something on liver disorders in pregnancy. That is
that becomes high-risk pregnancy only. So I think next one we can have on infertility, basic infertility. So if somebody wants to do that, and maybe something on urogynae, urogynecological disorders, somebody can do that. Let us cover the different subspecialties, and then we come again back a full circle. So I think we can think about infertility, basic infertility workup. Who wants to do that next in January? And then we can have another one, which could be on something about incontinence and, urogynae related.
We would mind having one more on fetal medicine.
We think to do that.
Ma'am, you didn't hear me. We would love to have one more on fetal medicine.
Yeah, we'll do that, but let's just make it a full circle. Let's have infertility for next time. I see that a lot of infertility workup is not done properly. So anybody who is interested in infertility, do a basic infertility CME in January, and then we can have related incontinence and things like that in February.
I'm also thinking of a colposcopy workshop.
That is what is
If people want, and that's what I also want to say. If
that could be an online workshop also. We'll show cases. We could do it online and we could show cases.
So we can start recruiting patients right now also, ma'am, for that?
Yes.
We can have lots of patients, and then once we have around 10 patients, then we can call them somewhere, and then we can do a live colposcopy and related procedures.
Actually, with the success of this meeting, I think that the awareness, we wanted to do an awareness CME for patients on cancer cervix prevention. We should do that. I think Monica was supposed to do that in December. So if she's not, please call her up and see whether she's going to do it or not. Anybody else interested? We need to do a awareness in Dwarka.
We'll put it in the group, ma'am, so that
we were supposed to do that somewhere in October. It hasn't happened. We were supposed to do a CME on awareness of cancer cervix.
She had mentioned for December, but I didn't get any.
Okay, so we need to do this one awareness CME.
After
one awareness CME for lay public awareness program. I think we should do that next from our Dwarka forum.
Right now. So thank you very much, Jagsonpal Pharmaceuticals, for your IT platform and for looking after us through this and putting this up on Facebook.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, please
our
do,
sales
Dr.
team-
Chabra, please do share the recording.
Yes, yes, of course.
So
I
that
will
I
in the
can,
group.
send it
I'll
in
put it
all
in the
the groups.
Yes.
And make sure that Malti
Thank you,
gets it so that
Deepika.
she can
Thank
put
you,
it in the
Dr.
other
Deepika
groups also.
Chabra.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Right.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much. My
Thank you,
sales
Jack
team person,
Deepika Chabra. Good night,
yeah, my
everybody.
regional
Dr.
manager from sales team is here, so he would just like to speak 1 minute.
Sure.
Thank you.
Good evening to all respected doctors. I am Sanjeev Tiwari, Regional Sales Manager, Jacksonpal Pharma Division based at Delhi. Dr. Pharma Division of Jacksonpal presents before you Lycoride, the cell protector. Doctor, please utilize the anti-oncogenic properties of Lycoride soft gel. Lycoride is the most potent free radical squenger to tackle oxidative stress. Lycoride is the only brand containing Lycometo, the source of 100% natural lycopene in its bioenvironment of phytonutrients. So doctors and doctors say no to anemia with Jepitone iron syrup. Iron therapy with zinc and vitamin B complex, trust of over 35 years to promote well-being and restore vitality. And from Nari division of Jacksonpal, a Narical tablet of calcium citrate malate, vitamin D3 and folic acid. Thank you for your presence today, and we look forward to your presence in our further programs as always. This Christmas, celebrate the academics and 2-day conference of managing midlife prevention and solution. Please register now on the Zoom ID on the screen. Thank you. Doctors, please note, next we invite you for 2 days conference on managing midlife prevention and solution organized by Indian Menopause Society on 25th December and 26th December. Please register now on the Zoom ID displayed. Thank you.